I don't think that is necessary. The Office of Budget Responsibility have published their numbers.
And finally, just you presented this budget as one of fairness. I mean, for those people who are wondering why should benefits go up with inflation, but not the tax thresholds for working people, they say, well, maybe you think that's the right thing to do, but is it really the fair thing to do?
Well, the Conservatives froze the tax thresholds for 7 years. We have extended them for a further 3. But even under the Conservatives, benefits kept pace with inflation, and that's what we continued in the budget this week.
Is it fair, though?
I believe that's the right thing to do. We've uprated...
Just what last time, it's a straight question. Is it fair? Because the sense of fairness is what people feel very, very keenly.
I think
see benefits going up with inflation, and their tax thresholds are not.
I think it is fair.
Picture this, if you will. Sir Keir Starmer, pouting slightly, low lighting hitting just right, cheeks sucked in just so, staring intently at the camera, asking the British people to be his friend. And before you accuse me of anything untoward, no, I have not gone all peculiar on you. I have just come to the absolutely unavoidable conclusion that the Right Honourable Member for Holborn and St Pancras does not actually want to be Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. What he actually wants is to be a social media influencer. Think of the brand collaborations, Keir. Think of the sponsorship deals. Think of the freebies. Because how else do you explain what the government announced this week? How else do you explain that Labour's latest, their greatest, their most definitive hammer blow against the evil people trafficking gangs unloading illegal migrants on our shores by the boatload is not a naval vessel, not a coherent immigration policy, not even a strongly worded letter to Brussels? No, it is a TikTok account. A TikTok account. I genuinely cannot believe I have to say those words out loud. 1 million illegal migrants since 2016, the provenance of whom we have not got the first clue, and Labour's secret weapon, their master plan, their solution to this existential challenge is to post dance videos on a platform famous for beauty routines and lip-syncing teenagers. This is not governance, this is not leadership, this is absolute, complete and utter parody masquerading as policy. Quick favour, if you are loving this, hit that subscribe button. Over 94% of viewers have not yet. It is free, takes a second, and means the world to us. Thanks, if you did. Now, back to the show. Let us just establish the scale of what we are actually talking about here, so everyone understands exactly how absurd this is. Since 2016, approximately 1 million people have arrived on British shores illegally. 1 million. That is not a small problem. That is not a manageable issue that we can quietly brush under the carpet. That is roughly the entire population of Birmingham just arriving, unvetted, unmonitored, completely unknown to our authorities. We do not know who they are. We do not know where they have come from. We do not know what their intentions are. We do not know whether they pose any security risk whatsoever. And this is the problem that has consumed every government for the past decade. This is the crisis that Starmer promised to solve. This is the issue that he came to power claiming he had a plan for. And the answer? A TikTok account. I genuinely wish this was some kind of elaborate joke. I wish I was winding you up. I wish someone would turn around and say, "Gotcha, we have actually got a proper immigration policy. This is just some kind of political theatre to mess with the opposition." But no, this is real. This is genuinely actually happening. And the opposition has not held back, and rightly so. Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp called it a pathetic gimmick. Richard Tice from Reform called it laughable. And honestly, both of them are being extraordinarily restrained with their language. Pathetic gimmick? Laughable? This is beyond pathetic. This is beyond laughable. This is so monumentally stupid, so completely devoid of any logical sense, so utterly unfit for purpose that it almost transcends normal political criticism. How do you even critique something this nonsensical? It's like watching someone try to extinguish a house fire with a water pistol and a positive attitude and genuinely believing they have solved the problem. It is governance by algorithm. It is policy by hashtag. It is an abdication of all responsibility dressed up in Instagram aesthetics. Now, let us think about this from the perspective of someone who is actually considering making the dangerous journey across the channel in a tiny boat. The people paying thousands to human traffickers, the people risking their lives in the freezing water, the people walking across entire continents to reach British shores. Are they really going to be deterred by a TikTok video? Are they sitting in a camp somewhere, watching a government dance routine and thinking, well, that's it then, I won't be going to Britain? Of course they're not. They don't care about viral trends. They don't care about algorithmic reach. They care about getting to Britain. They care about accessing our welfare system. They care about disappearing into our cities and towns and simply not being found. And what is the government doing about that? Posting lip-sync videos and hoping for engagement. This is strategy by social media metrics. This is policy designed by someone who has spent too much time scrolling TikTok and not enough time reading the Home Office briefing papers. And here's what really gets under your skin about this announcement. The government isn't even trying anymore. They're not even maintaining the basic pretense that they have a serious immigration policy. They're not even bothering to keep up the fiction that they understand the complexity of the issue. They've just given up entirely and decided that viral marketing is an acceptable substitute for actual governance. Starmer came to power promising to stop the boats. He said it was his top priority. He said he had a plan. He said he was going to be tougher on immigration than the Conservatives ever were. And now here we are, months into his premiership, and what we have is a TikTok account. No naval enforcement, no increased detention facilities, no proper border controls, just a TikTok account. It's not just disappointing, it's genuinely insulting to the intelligence of the British people.
So what could actually be done about this? What would a government that actually wanted to stop the boats actually do? Well, you could start by turning the boats around. Radical concept, I know. Genuinely provocative. But think about it logically. You put a bigger boat in front of the smaller boats and you turn them back. You face them down. That is what Australia did. That is what works. But then you have to accept that the hand-wringing, the bleating from the Islington dinner party classes, the endless articles about human rights and international compassion, all of that comes with taking action. You have to accept that The Guardian will write scathing editorials. You have to accept that Amnesty International will issue statements. You have to accept that there will be court cases and legal challenges and protests. And this government does not have the backbone for that. So instead, it does the absolute minimum. It announces something that sounds progressive and modern and very digitally savvy, and then it pretends it has solved the problem. Now, here is the thing about international law that nobody wants to say out loud. International law is not really law at all. It is a gentleman's agreement. It is a set of guidelines that countries follow when they feel like following them, which is basically never when it is inconvenient. And you know who has figured this out? Donald Trump. Love him or hate him, he has shown the entire world that you can simply ignore all the technocratic rules that successive governments have hidden behind for decades. You can ignore the International Court. You can ignore the United Nations resolutions. You can ignore the Geneva Conventions. You can ignore all of it and simply do what needs to be done. And what happens? The world does not end. The sky does not fall in. You just do what your country needs you to do. Britain could do exactly the same thing with illegal immigration. We could turn the boats around. We could deport people who arrive illegally. We could enforce our own borders with the full force of the law. But we have a government that does not believe in that. We have a government that would rather post TikTok videos than actually take action. What is particularly galling about all of this is that it reveals something deeply unpleasant about the government. It reveals that they are completely out of ideas. A TikTok account is not a policy, it is an admission of defeat. It is a government that has given up and decided that social media stunts are an acceptable substitute for actual governance. It is a government that would rather be trendy than be effective. It is a government that would rather have good optics than good outcomes. And every time they do this, every time they announce some vapid initiative instead of taking real action, they chip away at what little credibility they have left. Let us think about what a serious government would do in this situation. A serious government would have a comprehensive immigration strategy. It would have naval enforcement working properly and consistently. It would have border controls that are actually effective at detecting and preventing illegal entry. It would have agreements with neighboring countries to prevent people from attempting the journey in the first place. It would have a proper prosecution strategy against human traffickers. It would have deportation procedures that actually work. It would have vetting procedures that ensure security. And it would have the political will to implement all of this, even when it is unpopular. But we do not have a serious government. We have a government that thinks posting TikTok videos is a viable immigration policy. We have a government that has completely lost sight of what governance actually means. We have a government that is more interested in being liked on social media than in actually protecting the country. And the irony is that Starmer probably genuinely thinks this makes him look modern and in touch. He probably thinks that by launching a government TikTok account, he is proving that Labour understands young people and the digital age. But what he is actually proving is that he understands nothing about solving real problems. Young people do not care about government TikTok accounts. Real people care about real solutions. They care about border security. They care about law and order. They care about their government actually doing its job instead of posting aesthetic content and hoping for viral engagement. This is what happens when you elect a government with no genuine ideology, no genuine policy platform, and no genuine commitment to actually serving the public interest. It falls back on gimmicks. It falls back on social media stunts. It falls back on theater instead of substance. And it hopes nobody notices that the emperor has no clothes. The small boats crisis is real. It is serious. It demands serious solutions and serious action. Instead, the government posts dance videos, and that tells you absolutely everything you need to know about where this country is right now. It tells you that we have a government that has given up. It tells you that we have a government that does not believe in its own ability to solve problems. It tells you that we have a government that is more interested in likes and shares than in actually protecting British interests. It is woeful. It is spineless. It is pathetic. And it is exactly what you get when you elect a government that has no real conviction and no real plan. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more honest analysis of British politics.